Hey everybody, I'm Dale Earnhardt Jr. and this is the Dirty 30. The best highlights from all of our podcasts this week. 30 minutes every single Friday. The Dirty 30 coming at you. Let's get right to it. This episode of the Dirty 30 is presented by Arby's new Meat in 3 Box. Get more meal for your money at Arby's. We have the meats, which brings me to some comments made by Elton Sawyer.
Oh.
Yeah. Did you see that?
Mm-mm.
So Elton says, chase this down for me. Elton Sawyer says, I guess he was talking on Sirius XM or something, and they asked him about the state of restrictor plate racing or racing at Daytona and Talladega. You don't see this at Atlanta for some reason, but at Daytona and Talladega, he says they've had discussions about stage lengths at those two races regarding the fuel savings. So they're trying to figure out, all right, A, do we have a problem? Is fuel saving truly an issue? Is the fact that the cars ride around half throttle the entire race problematic, or is that racing still, right? Because he says it's conflicting that they can hear the chatter about running half throttle, but if he turns off the radio and just watches the race, he sees cars running 4 wide and fans standing and cheering. And so that lowers the discussion around fuel saving and modifying the racing at Daytona and Talladega in any way. That lowers it down the priority list when considering things like bringing back the chase and some other items on their to-do list. And he says, in quote, "What do we want to fix?" I know Elton is just trying to say to people really, is it really that serious of a problem? Is it maybe not such a big problem that we don't have to really try to make a change just for the sake of making a change? Because I don't know that they know what to change, right?
Yeah, same.
They've talked about, could they change the stage lengths? Would that make the teams run harder?
Fuel cell size,
Yeah, I don't. We went to smaller cells before. That was a pain in the ass. You just pitted more. You just pitted more. You didn't.
You're still going to try to eliminate a stop if you can.
I know, but it was just annoying to have to pit more.
Mm-hmm.
Drivers want to race. Drivers want to be on the track, not coming down pit road because your fuel cell's 13 gallons. We did that. We didn't like it. I wouldn't want to go back to that. That wouldn't get me. I'm trying to make a change, TJ, that's going to make me want to tune in. Making the fuel cell smaller on a car ain't exciting. All right. It's not sexy. So I don't have an answer, but I do know one thing. I do not like that they go out there and run half throttle in 2 seconds off the pace. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like it. So Elton, we don't like it. And to say, well, if we don't talk about it, is it really a problem? If it's not, if the casual fan doesn't realize what's going on, then we shouldn't consider it an issue. I don't know if I like that. I don't love that he said that.
That's my problem is you're now basically telling your hardcore fans, we're not thinking about you.
Yeah.
All you had to say is, we're thinking about it, but we have to worry about the unintended consequences if we make a change.
Listen, let me say this too, and this is a compliment to NASCAR. This is the only thing that rubbed me wrong when in all of the last couple of weeks. This is the only thing that was like, what the heck, man? This is the only thing. All right, so we're on a good path. Things are going good. We got great marketing, seeing all the commercials, see all the little clips, social media clips and everything that they're doing. The hell yeah, all that.
A lot of momentum.
It's great. It's good. They did a great job. When they came out with that, when we saw some behind the curtain about that hell yeah stuff, everybody was clowning it. What the hell are we doing? Blah, blah, blah. We even talked about it here. It's great. It turned out great. And how do you keep everything a secret? They can't be expected to keep everything under wraps. But it turned out great. O'Donnell's been doing great. Everybody's doing good. A lot of communication. There's been more communication behind the scenes than I've seen in a long time with NASCAR. NASCAR eagerly wants this to work. They badly want this to work. And they're not us. That was the only thing that I was like, man, come on. What the Now, we're all smarter than that. So, the fuel saving era is not and it's not NASCAR's fault. It's just the teams have found a way to a strategy to give them an advantage late in the race, and they've got to minimize it. When we went to this car and it fuels slower, the tires go on faster and the fuel takes longer to go in. That's what created this, right? What is the one thing that keeps you on pit road? Putting fuel in the car. So can you minimize that and spend less time on pit road and give yourself an advantage? Yes. That's how this happened. The single lug shortened up the tire side of the pit stop, and now fueling is the outlier that you need to eliminate as much as you can. So they go out there and they save as much as they can, and they have to put less in the car and spend less time on pit road, and they're trying to put themselves in position late in the race with the track position to go out there and maybe have a shot at winning. And it's frustrating to watch them ride around. But I feel like if they don't change anything, people will have to set themselves apart. Everybody can't go out there and save. The guy running 20th, saving with his, like the guy running up front, is not at an advantage anymore. Because the guy up front's saving fuel too. The advantage is lost. So you might see some teams say, screw that. We're going to run hard. We're going to hope that the cautions fall in our favor. And that's the risk we're going to take.
Didn't we see the Toyotas in one of the super speedways last year try to push the pace on everyone else?
It's a couple years ago.
That's what you need is a group to get together and let's try something.
Yeah.
Yeah. My fear is, what's worse, this or running hard like at Talladega when everybody ran hard? It was 2x2, nobody moved.
Yeah.
What would you rather have?
Well, TJ, you mentioned it earlier. This car, if you don't want to save and you go out there and hold the car full throttle, right? And you go out and try to take the lead, you can't drive away. You can't. No. The car has so much drag that if you run wide open, you're just sitting in front of the field running wide open. Helping the guys that are saving. So the car has a ton of drag on it. That's a car problem. I don't know that there's many drivers, mechanics, and crew chiefs that would disagree that the drag on the car and how how the whole package, the power versus the drag. If I'm out there running half throttle, a full second slower than my car's capable of going, I want you to be able to go full throttle and literally drive away from me. Drive away. Put seconds between you and me. And you can't do it with this car.
Yeah, you definitely can't do it.
No. And that's not all right. That ain't all right.
What's the easiest fix to reduce drag?
Spoiler can get shorter. Everything about,
What if they just took the spoiler off the back?
I don't know if you could knock the spoiler off at Daytona. I think you could. They would have to
drive it.
They'd have to test to be able to get the cars comfortable again. And
what if they're not? Why do they have to be super comfortable though? Make them.
No. So they don't just crash. Yeah. I think if you took a spoiler off a car right now, you would have to spend a little bit of time putting some grip back in the back. And that's realistically, listen.
Could the teams find that?
Yes. No question.
Got it.
And I will, you can't change my mind until, you wouldn't be able to change my mind until you sent a car out on the racetrack and I saw with my own eyes that it wouldn't work. If you look at some of the driver photos from Daytona of the guys when they kneel by the car after qualifying.
At the start-finish line, yeah.
In I'd say the late 80s, they were laying their spoilers back before there was a spoiler rule to 15, 10, 20 degrees.
So there's not much there.
Nothing. So I think there was a rule on the length of the spoiler, or they might actually just take the spoiler off. So we have ran a crap ton less spoiler at Daytona in NASCAR in a couple different eras.
I feel like those cars would be a handful with no spoiler.
Well, man, I remember, and I know it was different asphalt, bumpy Daytona, but I remember like lifting in the duels.
Yeah.
We'd be racing in the duels on Thursday and plowing tight, going in the corner up to the top of the racetrack and all the way out of the gas into the center of the corner and then back full throttle.
Well, that would create
running fourth.
That would create some racing.
Yeah.
Like
dude. And we're sitting there running our ass off, and I'm like, man, I can't go anywhere. I'm a couple car lengths in front of me is a car. Jeff Burton was behind me, and he's running fifth, and we're all tight, lifting out of the gas, up to the wall, back in the gas. Here comes Jamie McMurray rolling right around the bottom, just past us all because he's handling. And
well, I'd take that.
Oh man, so that's what I was asking you at the start when you said good racing. What do you think is some different people look at things differently? Like Elton Sawyer said, there are some fans, and they use it in commercials and everything, that'll see that 3 wide and go, that's badass.
Yeah, it is badass.
And then there's some people that'll see cars strung out and a guy out handling everybody and working his way through the field and go, that's badass. So it's a little bit different for everybody. But when we go to Daytona, this is where I land on all of it. When we go to Daytona and Talladega, but more so for the 500, it's a 2.5-mile track. Daytona's synonymous with running wide open, holding the throttle down, running your ass off, hair on fire.
Yeah.
Cale Yarborough, 201 mile an hour, busting his ass in turn 4 and flying up into the guardrail. Buddy Baker in the Gray Ghost destroying the freaking field. Hauling ass is what Daytona and the Daytona 500 is about. Dirty Mo Media, Junior Motorsports, and I have a new partner this year, and we couldn't be more excited about this. A lot of y'all may have heard Arby's has come on board, and we're loving every second of it. And Arby's has entered the chat with a meal deal that raises the bar for value. Introducing the new meat and 3 box for $7.99 that's filled with Arby's quality favorites. Each meat and 3 box includes your choice of one sandwich, the classic roast beef that is hand sliced and slow roasted, or you can go with the crispy fish sandwich. All this comes with the melty mozzarella sticks, some crispy curly fries, everybody loves those, and a peach cobbler roll for dessert, guys. You got to try that dessert. It's really good. And you get a small drink. It's called Meat and 3, but you're actually getting 5 items, all for only $7.99. Nobody out there is giving you this much value for your money. This is a value meal that won't leave you hungry. You don't have to settle for less when you get more from Arby's. Available for a limited time at participating locations while supplies last. Prices may vary. Get your Meat and 3 box at an Arby's near you today. You ended up you talked about building cars for Richard Petty. You were the one that built the chassis for the car that flipped down the front straightaway at Daytona. Not the way you want to see that go, but you talk about building safe race cars. That was a hell of a wreck. And Richard's, toward the back end of his career at that point, those wrecks are harder to walk out of. In his case, and you had to be pretty happy with how that thing held up, considering all the things that went through during that crash.
Yeah, because I was standing on pit road, and when it happened right in front of us, I'm like, oh no, this is bad.
Yeah.
When he finally stopped, the flipping part wasn't so bad, but when he got hit in the left front and spun him so fast.
Yes.
Well, Dale Inman's on the radio going, Dale, Richard, you all right? You all right? You all right? Never said a word. Richard, you all right? You all right? And he finally come on the radio and he said, yeah, I'm all right, but I can't see nothing. He said, my eyes aren't working. And the doctor said when he spun it so fast that the blood vessels and all, the blood went out of his eyes.
Jesus.
And he couldn't see. And then, he was, the biggest problem he had was his knees and stuff were banged up so bad.
Sure.
And so I was going to relief drive for him at Richmond.
Really?
The next race. They had me up there standby, and we was in the trailer the morning of the race, and he said, you gonna be all right? And I said, yeah, I'll be all right. And he said, well, I'll just get your suit on when the race starts. And he said, if I feel bad, we'll just stop, whatever we do, lose laps, whatever we do. And the doctor come in there, started taking fluid out of his knees, and I'm like, there's no way he's gonna run this race. And shoot, about first caution come out, we run good, and he said, "I'm gonna be fine." He said, "Yeah, I ain't gonna get out."
Yeah.
So I just went and took the driving suit off and watched. You
Wow.
know, but
You ran, you talk about being a standby for him. You had raced in the Cup Series a handful of times, but not many. You raced your debut was at North Wilkesboro in '93. You'd run 2 starts in '94 at Wilkesboro and Martinsville, all short tracks. You had a bad crash at Pocono. Had an engine from Ernie Elliott running good in practice. Made an adjustment and got yourself turned around backwards.
yeah,
Broke your ankle.
yeah. That we went to Pocono and tested, and we rented a racetrack. And back when you could rent the racetrack,
Yeah.
we were by ourselves up there that day.
Oh,
And time wise, I was slow, but we had a motor in there that Ernie had given me to test with, and he said it'll get you around the racetrack. And so we kept working on it, and really didn't run fast. And I called Terry Labonte. I said, "Where do I need to lift going into 1?" And he said, "Well, you need to lift about, number 5 or something on the board, there." He said, "Where you lifting?" I said, 1. He said, "You don't have no motor." He said, "If it drives good, you'll be fine." So we come back, and Ernie sent us a new motor, and we got the racetrack. Ernie said, "This thing is better than Bill's. I'm telling you."
yeah.
He said, "It's going to be better than Bill's." So we were top 10 fastest the first practice. And I had a guy, Dean Johnson, that was crew chief of me, and he come over, and this is when had a spoiler height rule, but you could put it whatever you want to angle was it. And he said, "Can you run faster than that on another mock run?" I said, "Yeah, I guess so." He said, "I'm going to take some spoiler out of it." Wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
I get into 1 down there, and just before I go to 3rd gear, it turns around backwards, and I hit the wall of the driver's door.
Golly.
And it ricochets off the wall and comes back down. And I remember coming back down, and the 4 cars on a mock run, and he comes by my nose at 175 mile an hour, missed me as I'm sliding backwards. And the spotters on the radio yelling, "Are you all right? Are you all right?" And I'm still sliding. And finally, Ernie Elliott, he's over in the garage area. I heard him yell at the boy talking to me on there. He said, he said, "Not through wrecking, leave him alone."
So you broke your ankle there?
Yeah. I got the adrenaline's going. You don't realize you hurt.
Yeah.
Get out and step, and your leg folds up, and then my knee was dislocated where it caught the
Jeez.
steering column. And so
Damn it.
just one of them deals. You kind of.
Wonder what year that was. What year was that?
That was 94, I think.
You ran the All-Star Open in '95 in a ride sponsored by Diamond Rio.
Right.
How did that come about?
Well, the Mr. Wilson owned the cars. He was vice president at R.J. Reynolds.
Yeah.
And he had
Who took care of the cars?
we kept them at our shop, and then we it been messing with some people, the Blue Rhino people, the propane people.
Yeah.
They were just starting, and they wanted to be on the car, and they knew some people in the music industry, and so they come by the shop one night, Mr. Wilson did, and he said, "I think we got us a sponsor." He said, "You know about Diamond Rio?" And I said, "The trucks?" And he said, "No." And he said, "Country music." So he said, "Go get some CDs and listen to them."
Yeah.
And so they're going to sponsor us. And so it was a good deal. They were nice, really nice.
Yeah.
We went to several shows with them, and but I got in the middle of a divorce, and the racing was, racing and with 2 young children. It's kind of, they had people come in to buy into the team, and they wanted to change. Because we went to Richmond, and I missed a race by 0.02 of a second, and then so they just kind of like went the other direction.
Yeah.
I was upset, but you can't blame them.
Yeah.
It's money and it's a sport.
That was the end of your career on the, in terms of cup racing and bush starts. Eventually you would build cup cars for Dad.
Mm-hmm.
The car that Dad wrecked Terry with at Bristol was your race car, your chassis. At the time, Kevin Hamlin was the crew chief on the car. They had their own chassis shop, but they came over to you looking for something different.
Well, they were buying cars from Hopkins then.
Yeah.
And so then Kevin and them come into the shop and they decided they wanted to try something different.
What were you going to do that's different?
It was just, my cars were going to be a little bit lighter.
Yeah.
Like at the time, I had bought a die that the Plymouth Tube Company that makes roll bar pipe, and they made us a die that I bought, and they would run a mill run of my roll bar tube, and it was 90 thousandths plus or minus a half, where everybody else was 95 thousandths, period. And I got to choose the carbon rated, and I wanted the type of tensile strength I wanted, and it made a difference.
Yeah.
And so they come over and wanted they said, build us 2 cars, but don't tell nobody.
Yeah.
Don't tell nobody who they're for. And I got them done, and they come pick them up, and that one evening after work, and took them to RCR, and the next morning, I don't think it's lucky they still had the job.
Really?
Yeah, it didn't go over well.
It didn't?
No.
Why? Who was mad?
Yeah, I mean, there was people kind of over the crew chiefs were not happy.
Yeah.
That they just went out on their own and did it.
Uh-huh.
And they tested them, started testing them, and they were always good, real good. And then finally, Pocono, Dale wrecked last practice after qualifying, and they carried mine as a backup every week, and they pulled mine off, and he started in the rear, and I think he ran third or something, and he should have needed just a little bit more. He could have won the race.
Sure.
And the car he loved was serial number 44. And he wanted to run that thing everywhere. We didn't run those speedways. It was all short track in Charlotte and stuff, because they raced at Richmond one night, and he got in a wreck down there and knocked right front corner off and smashed some bottom 2 door bars up. And they called me and said, look, we got to be at Charlotte Wednesday. We'll have this thing at your shop in the morning, Sunday morning at 8 o'clock, and we need it back by that night.
Mm-hmm.
We had to call my guys and say, look, be at the shop. We got to fix the car. We put half front clip on it, 2 door bars. They picked it up, and they was at Charlotte with the thing Wednesday.
Dang.
And then that's the car he ran at Bristol when he rattled Terry's cage.
Yeah. That was your only Cup career win as a chassis builder.
Right.
Dirty Mo Media and SiriusXM right now teaming up here for the stage and the fans on at Daytona. Hey, crowd. Good to see everybody. Got Jeff Gluck here, Freddie, and Jeff Gordon has joined us today. Jeff Gordon.
Hey there. Dale had your dad had a love-hate relationship with every competitor, by the way. Like he would put his arm around them, hey buddy, let's go hunting and fishing and let's do this, and then the next week spinning them out, wrecking them on the track. So you just kind of you became aware and familiar with that. That was the kind of relationship that you could potentially have if you got into that inner circle. And I just always looked up to him, had the most respect. And then as my career started taking off, the business side started taking off, and back then we used to fly on planes together to tracks, and you spent more time. You go up in the hauler, the NASCAR hauler, and you just spent more time together as drivers than I feel like they do today. And you get to know one another, whether you like it or not. And so it just created some conversations with him and myself about I remember he's the first one who told me, you got to own your rights to your likeness. He's like, if you don't have that, you got to go get that. In your next driver contract, you need to, control the licensing. And like he was the one that really led me down that path. And then, of course, when Action Performance came along and the diecast market just blew up, he was, leading that charge and riding. And he knew that, hey, it's not just a one-man show. It was, this thing's going to be bigger, and the sport's going to be bigger, and the fans are going to get more access to things if all of us come together. And so he came to me and he's like, now, of course, his way of coming together and throwing an idea, hey, here's what you're going to do. A contract's going to come to you. There's no email, but a contract's going to come over. You're going to look it over. If you want to have a lawyer look at it, that's fine, but you're still going to sign it one way or another. And that'll happen on Tuesday. Like that. And you just go, okay. And listen, every one of the deals worked out really well. So I'm glad it happened the way it did.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
I always enjoy knowing that how you guys were able to, like y'all, he and you and him and all these other guys like Schrader and Rick Mast, and they all have stories about run-ins on the racetrack with Dad. But off the racetrack, y'all all figured out a way to put that aside till the next Sunday, and do business and do things that were successful together, and then you get out on the racetrack and run into each other and flip each other off and be mad as you could be,
Yeah, there were 2 times that I don't think I've gotten over it yet. And I can remember the first time, and I looked. This was such a huge life lesson for me as a driver. Well, it was my rookie year in '93, and I think it was last or maybe second or third to last. No, it wasn't the last race because it was in Phoenix. The last race back then was in Atlanta, so second or third to the end of the season, and he was, as he always was, in the hunt, for the championship. He didn't win at '93, did he? I don't think he won at '93. I know he won at '94. Anyway, so I'm racing, like I'm in 7th, something like that, and he and I are battling for that position. We had about equal cars, and somehow I got ahead of him, maybe on a pit sequence or something, and he he's just right on me, and I gave him the inside, and we raced side by side for about 2 laps, and that was 1.5 too many.
Oh, yeah.
And we went down to turn 3, and I thought I gave him enough room, and boom, around I go, pow, in the wall. And I was like, man, I didn't know I came down on him, crowded him like that. I realized later I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just his way of saying, hey, kid, yeah, that's not going to get it done, especially with me. So I never, I made sure that I was always understanding the situation. It was situational awareness was what the lesson was, and he had more on the line than I did that day, and I didn't even race him that hard. And then what was the other one? Oh shoot! Gosh darn it! I'm gonna think about it here in a second. But
sounds like you're over it.
Yeah, I'm definitely not. Oh no! It was we were at Michigan practice on a Saturday, okay, and we were about to take off pit road, and Ray Abraham comes over. He's like, listen, just you got a good race car. We're just trying to get this thing, for the later practice, right? Get it right. Don't worry too much about right now. And he's like, just let Dale go, because Dale, like when in practice, man, he would run a practice like it was a race. He wanted to race you as hard as he could in practice. So we always kind of knew just stay away from racing anybody really, and so I remember I come off pit road and let him. He yarded, he's way out there, over straightaway ahead, and then I start running, and my car's really good, and so I'm closing in on him, and then all of a sudden he starts really slowing down, and so I'm like, okay, he's gonna let me go, and he'll get in behind me, and I remember I come off of turn 2, come off at 2. And I mean, he's checked up on the outside. I get a big run, and all of a sudden he gets right to my quarter panel, just enough where I can't clear him. And we go down to 3, and I'm just like, surely he's going to let me go. So I'm just going to drive in real deep. No, he drove in deeper, right on my door, and sucked me right around. I backed that thing in the wall, destroyed the car.
Yeah.
And he was unscathed as usual. And so, man, and Ray was pissed at me. He wasn't mad at Dale. He's like, what did I tell you? Stay. I said, he was letting me go. I thought he was letting me go. So that was another life lesson.
Has there been moments that you remember being on the other side of that, where you were teaching a young driver on the racetrack how it's done?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, that's why later, I realized, especially the 93 thing, like as a rookie, every rookie that came in, you had to teach them that lesson. It was your duty. When they came, if they thought they were too good, or they were running up front and using up a little too much track or what, you're like, yep, here comes that Dale Sr. moment.
Man, we can.
Now, I might not have wrecked them, but I definitely moved them.
Oh, I'm sure. So we got a little bit of an announcement to make. Jeff, you want to do this? It's your deal.
When you do a podcast right after the race, you haven't heard what anybody else thinks. So, I haven't heard Actions Detrimental or DBC or Dodging Your Download.
Yeah.
So sometimes you're just kind of like, I'm like, man, this just happened. We got off the pit road. We come to do the podcast, and I'm like talking about stuff. I'm like, yeah, I think this is right. I think this is what people are going to think about this. Yeah. But my show is just after the race, so I don't have anything else to say. So I'm going to be doing a Thursday show now. It's going to be on the Teardown feed, and it's going to be on my YouTube channel. And I'm not.
Is this the name of it?
This is the name. The name of it is the Glutcast.
Is it? The Glutcast.
Okay.
I love it. You picked that name yourself, didn't you?
They said that I had to have a name because it's on the Teardown feed. It has to have my name in it. And I was like, I don't know about the Glutcast.
I don't think anybody's going to forget it.
Well,
that's a good thing.
They said you have 24 hours to come up with a better name than the Glutcast. And I thought about it, and I couldn't.
This sounds like
there's a lot of
NASCAR negotiations.
Yeah.
You better sign this right now.
You got 24 hours.
There's a lot of things that Gluck could be in with that shouldn't be in.
Is it too soon? Was that too soon?
No, I thought that thing worked out great. I thought that was amazing.
I'm pretty excited about this show, and look forward to it. I mean, it'll be interesting to see kind of what your perspective is going in, and then how you may change what you say and do on the teardown after the race, right? Because you've got this preview and this post reaction now.
Yeah, I mean, it's so weird how like the conversation just weaves and flows throughout the week. We all follow it, right? Like I think we're all in this community, this NASCAR community, and you can see, okay, this is the topic of the week, and it kind of flares up, and everybody kind of hops on it, and every podcast is talking about it, and every writer's talking about it, and everybody's talking about it on social media, and then it kind of just goes another way, and then the next thing pops up. And it's not like one person or something. It's just like collectively we all just said, all right, I guess we're going to be talking about this week. All right, everybody's talking about it. So I'm happy to have a chance to weigh in again if people aren't tired of listening to me. So thank you.
I'm looking forward to it. So tear down the Glutcast. All right. It's a weekly spinoff.
I'm going to say it just like
that. Yeah. So it's debuting February 19th. New episodes dropping every Thursday. And there'll be an audio version as well as a YouTube version. We'll all be checking that out.
All right, that was another episode of the Dirty 30 presented by Arby's new Meat and 3 Box. Get more meal for your money at Arby's. We have the meats.